The following is a verbatim reading of a publicly released government document. No commentary, interpretation, or analysis has been added. The text is read as written. Overt acts in furtherance of the defendants' drug trafficking and narco-terrorism conspiracies. 21. The defendants, together and with others, engaged in a relentless campaign of cocaine trafficking throughout the time period charged in this superseding indictment, resulting in the distribution of thousands of tons of cocaine to the United States. Throughout, Nicolás Maduro Moros, the defendant, along with members of his family and other corrupt officials, provided law enforcement cover and logistical support for the transport of cocaine through Venezuela, with knowledge that their drug trafficking partners would move the cocaine north to the United States. While this conduct occurred regularly and repeatedly throughout the time period charged, below are certain examples of acts engaged in by the defendants in furtherance of their drug trafficking, including in partnership with narco-terrorist groups. A. Between approximately 2006 and 2008, while acting as Venezuela's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Maduro Moros sold Venezuelan diplomatic passports to individuals that Maduro Moros knew were drug traffickers in order to assist traffickers seeking to move drug proceeds from Mexico to Venezuela under diplomatic cover. When the drug traffickers needed to move drug proceeds from Mexico back to Venezuela, Maduro Moros facilitated the movement of private planes under diplomatic cover to ensure the flights received no scrutiny from law enforcement or the military. On these occasions, Maduro Moros called the Venezuelan embassy in Mexico to advise that a diplomatic mission would be arriving by private plane. Then, while the traffickers met with the Venezuelan ambassador to Mexico under the auspices of a diplomatic mission from Maduro Moros, their plane was loaded with the drug proceeds. The plane would then return to Venezuela under diplomatic cover. B. In approximately 2007, Celia Adela Flores de Maduro, the defendant, attended a meeting in which Flores de Maduro accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes to broker a meeting between a large-scale drug trafficker and the director of Venezuela's National Anti-Drug Office, Nestor Reverol Torres. The drug trafficker later arranged to pay a monthly bribe to Reverol Torres, in addition to approximately $100,000 for each flight that was transporting cocaine to ensure the flight's safe passage, a portion of which was then paid to Flores de Maduro. In or about 2015, Reverol Torres was charged with narcotics offenses in the Eastern District of New York and is a fugitive. C. Between in or about 2003 and in or about 2011, while Diosdado Cabello Rondon, the defendant, occupied various official positions in Venezuela, the Zetas worked with a group of Colombian drug traffickers to dispatch cargo containers on container ships carrying 5 to 6 tons of cocaine each, and sometimes as much as 20 tons each, from ports in Venezuela to ports in Mexico, and ultimately to the United States. The tens of thousands of kilograms of cocaine sent by this group were protected in Venezuela by Venezuelan military officials referred to as the generals. D. Between in or about 2004 and in or about 2015, Maduro Moros and Flores de Maduro worked together to traffic cocaine, much of which had been previously seized by Venezuelan law enforcement with the assistance of armed military escorts. During this time, Maduro Moros and Flores de Maduro maintained their own groups of state-sponsored gangs known as colectivos to facilitate and protect their drug trafficking operation. Maduro Moros and Flores de Maduro also ordered kidnappings, beatings, and murders against those who owed them drug money or otherwise undermined their drug trafficking operation, including ordering the murder of a local drug boss in Caracas, Venezuela. E. In or about 2006, Venezuelan officials dispatched more than 5.5 tons of cocaine from Venezuela to Mexico on a DC-9 jet. Cabello Rondon, then director of Venezuela's military intelligence agency, Hugo Armando Carvajal Barrios, AAKKAI El Pollo, who, in June 2025, pled guilty in this district to the narco-terrorism, narcotics, and weapons offenses in the first superseding indictment in this case, SL 11-25, AKH, and Venezuelan National Guard Captain Vasily Kotovsky Villarroel Ramirez worked with other members of the Venezuelan regime to coordinate the shipment. The more than 5.5 tons of cocaine were transported in approximately 5 vans to the hangar reserved for the Venezuelan president at Simon Bolivar International Airport in Maiquetía, Venezuela, the Maiquetía Airport. At the Maiquetía Airport, members of the Venezuelan National Guard loaded the cocaine onto the plane, which took off using a flight plan that Villarroel Ramirez approved in exchange for bribes. Despite the payment of those bribes, when the plane landed at Ciudad del Carmen Airport in Campeche, Mexico, Mexican authorities seized more than 5.5 tons of cocaine. Shortly after the seizure, Villarroel Ramirez told the Venezuelan drug traffickers who worked with him that they needed to pay Cabello Rondon a bribe to ensure that those who had assisted them at the Maiquetía Airport would not be arrested. Villarroel Ramirez then arranged a meeting with Cabello Rondon, after which the traffickers paid approximately $2,500,000 to Cabello Rondon through his family member. In or about 2013, Villarroel Ramirez was charged with narcotics offenses in the Eastern District of New York and is a fugitive. Between approximately 2006 and 2008, Hector Rusthenford Guerrero Flores, a /K/A Nifio Guerrero, the defendant, worked with one of the largest drug traffickers in Venezuela, Walid Makhled. Members of the Venezuelan regime helped protect Makhled's cocaine shipments that were transported from San Fernando de Apure, Venezuela, to Valencia, Venezuela, and were then sent by plane from the Valencia International Airport to Mexico and other locations in Central America for eventual distribution to the United States. Between in or about 2008 and in or about 2009, Guerrero Flores also provided another major Venezuelan drug trafficker with protection for cocaine shipments moving through Venezuela, including by providing armed men who carried, among other automatic weapons, AK-47s, MP5s, and AR-15, as well as grenades. At times, Guerrero Flores personally accompanied large cocaine loads as they were guarded by the teams of armed men en route to airports or airstrips for transport north and eventual distribution to the United States. Guerrero Flores was paid a fee per kilogram of cocaine transported or received, and he sometimes received an interest in portions of these massive cocaine shipments in lieu of payment. The traffickers that Guerrero Flores worked with moved thousands of kilograms per shipment multiple times per month, resulting in the distribution of hundreds of tons of cocaine to the United States. In or about 2009, Makhled was charged with narcotics offenses in this district and is a fugitive. In or about 2008, Ramon Rodriguez Chacin, the defendant, maintained a large estate in Barinas State, Venezuela, which contained a large FARC encampment and training school with approximately 200 armed FARC members carrying automatic rifles at any given time. During this time, Rodriguez Chacin accepted tens of thousands of dollars in bribes to use his corrupt influence to shield a large-scale drug trafficker from arrest and extradition. During subsequent meetings with the drug trafficker between in or about 2008 and in or about 2010, Rodriguez Chacin discussed trafficking multi-ton quantities of cocaine with other Venezuelan officials, including Carvajal Barrios. In or about 2011, the Sinaloa cartel's then leader, Joaquin Archivaldo Guzman Loera, aka El Chapo, financed cocaine laboratories in Colombia. Cocaine produced in those laboratories was then transported under the protection of the FARC into Venezuela and received protection en route to an airstrip from Carvajal Barrios, a close ally of Maduro Moros and Cabello Rondon. In or about September 2013, mere months after Maduro Moros succeeded to the Venezuelan presidency, Venezuelan officials dispatched approximately 1.3 tons of cocaine on a commercial flight from the Maiquetía Airport to Paris-Charles de Gaulle Airport. French authorities seized the cocaine. Following the seizure, Maduro Moros convened a meeting with, among others, Cabello Rondon and Carvajal Barrios. During the meeting, Maduro Moros told Cabello Rondon and Carvajal Barrios that they should not have used the Maiquetía Airport for drug trafficking after the 2006 seizure in Mexico, and that they should instead use other well-established drug routes and locations to dispatch cocaine. Shortly thereafter, Maduro Moros and others authorized the arrests of certain Venezuelan military officials in an effort to divert public and law enforcement scrutiny away from Maduro Moros's Cabello Rondon's and Carvajal Barrios's participation in the shipment and its cover-up. J. Between approximately 2014 and 2015, a captain in the Venezuelan National Guard on Margarita Island, Venezuela, coordinated hotels, transportation, women, and food for visits by Venezuelan officials, including Nicolás Ernesto Maduro Guerra, a.k.a. Nicolasito, a.k.a. the Prince, the defendant, who visited Margarita Island approximately twice monthly. Maduro Guerra would arrive on a Falcon 900 plane owned by Venezuela's state oil company, Petróleos de Venezuela, S.A., PDVSA. Before leaving the island, Maduro Guerra's PDVSA plane would be loaded, sometimes with the assistance of armed sergeants, with large packages wrapped in tape that the captain understood were drugs. Maduro Guerra was present while the PDVSA plane was loaded, and on one occasion stated that the plane could go wherever it wanted, including the United States. K. Between in or about October 2015 and in or about November 2015, Efrain Campo Flores and Frankie Francisco Flores de Freitas II, relatives of Maduro Moros and Flores de Maduro agreed, during recorded meetings with DEA confidential sources, to dispatch multi-hundred-kilogram cocaine shipments from Maduro Moros's presidential hangar at the Maiquetía airport. During recorded meetings with the sources, Campo Flores and Flores de Freitas explained that they were at war with the United States, described the Cartel de los Soles, discussed a connection to a commander for the FARC who was supposedly high-ranked, and indicated that they were seeking to raise $20 million in drug proceeds to support a campaign by Flores de Maduro in connection with a late 2015 election for the Venezuelan National Assembly. Campo Flores referred to Maduro Moros as his father and stated that what we want is for him to take control again of the National Assembly. In or about November 2016, Campo Flores and Flores de Freitas were convicted at trial in this district of conspiring to import cocaine into the United States. 1. In or about 2017, Maduro Guerra worked to ship hundreds of kilograms of cocaine from Venezuela to Miami, Florida. During this time, Maduro Guerra spoke with his drug trafficking partners about, among other things, shipping low-quality cocaine to New York because it could not be sold in Miami, arranging a 500-kilogram shipment of cocaine to be unloaded from a cargo container near Miami, and using scrap metal containers to smuggle cocaine into the ports of New York. M. In or about 2018 and 2019, Rodriguez Chachin made multiple trips from Barinas State to Caracas with a key FARC leader for meetings with Maduro Moros. These trips were part of a long history of Rodriguez Chachin's regular meetings with FARC and ELN members in both their jungle encampments and Barinas, because Rodriguez Chachin was assigned by Maduro Moros to provide the FARC and ELN with protection and support. Rodriguez Chachin also brought FARC leaders to meet Maduro Moros at Miraflores, the presidential palace in Caracas, as well as at Fuerte Tiuna, the chief military complex in Caracas and headquarters of Venezuela's Ministry of Defense. N. In or about July 2019, shortly after certain FARC leaders had publicly returned to arms despite the signing of recent peace accords with the Colombian government, Maduro Moros and Cabello Rondon attended a videotaped press conference at which Maduro Moros announced that the FARC and its leaders were welcome in Venezuela. In or about 2019, TDA's leader, Guerrero Flores, discussed drug trafficking with an individual he understood to be working with the Venezuelan regime. Over multiple calls, Guerrero Flores offered to provide escort services for drug loads, explaining that Guerrero Flores and TDA had control of the coastlines of Venezuela's Aragua state. Guerrero Flores, speaking from TDA's base of operations in Tocoron prison, explained that TDA could handle the logistics of every aspect of the drug trade, including the use of storage compartments that Guerrero Flores called cradles, located on a beach in Aragua State. In doing so, Guerrero Flores confirmed TDA's ability to protect over 1 ton of cocaine. P. In or about 2020, Maduro Guerra attended a meeting in Medellin, Colombia, with 2 representatives of the FARC. During the meeting, Maduro Guerra discussed arrangements to move large quantities of cocaine and weapons through Colombia and into the United States over the course of the next 6 years until in or about 2026. Maduro Guerra also discussed paying the FARC with weapons in connection with the cocaine loads. Q. In or about 2007, at the direction of Carvajal Barrios, Venezuelan General Claver Alcala Cordones delivered to FARC leadership 4 crates of weapons from the Venezuelan government, which included 20 grenades and 2 grenade launchers. In or about June 2023, Alcala Cordones pled guilty in this district to conspiring to provide material support to the FARC, an FTO, pursuant to the 3rd superseding information, in this case S311 KR 205 AKH. R. Between in or about 2022 and in or about 2024, Cabello Rondon regularly traveled to clandestine airstrips controlled by the ELN near the Colombia-Venezuela border to ensure the cocaine's continued safe passage in Venezuelan territory. From these airstrips, cocaine was dispatched out of Venezuela both on flights approved by Venezuelan military officials and on clandestine flights designed to avoid detection by law enforcement or militaries in South and Central America. S. In or about the end of 2024, Cabello Rondon received narcotics proceeds from cocaine trafficking, and in or about 2025, Colombian drug traffickers discussed with an associate of Cabello Rondon plans for continued cocaine trafficking through Venezuela.